Hey everyone, Sam here. On day 4 of Strixhaven Spoilers, Wizards painted a pretty picture of what the Prismari have to offer, and tossed in a few extra surprises along the way. What new elements will you have to work with in your favorite format? Let's take a look. Blue and red are traditionally a color pair that focuses on spells, and the Prismari don't stray from that. But what makes them unique is a focus on large, splashy spells and the means to cast them. Blue-red ramp is the name of the game, and that ethos is embodied by the Elder Dragon after whom the college is named, Galazeth Prismari. Galazeth turns every artifact into a mana rock, and gives you one to use right away. Accumulating a critical mass of artifacts is not difficult to do, so presumably, this can allow you to cast large spells rather quickly. However, for me, this ability is more exciting in an EDH deck modeled after Urza. Winter Orb, Static Orb, Storage Matrix, these are just some of the stacks elements that you can tap down so they don't affect you. While, unlike Urza, Galazeth doesn't offer an infinite mana outlet in the command zone, it does offer access to the color red. This gets you additional stacks pieces like Blood Moon and Stranglehold, as well as some of the most impactful cards in the format like Dockside Extortionist and Underworld Breach. There are a few more Prismari cards that are dedicated to ramp or spell cost reduction, but the ones that excite me most are Maelstrom Muse and Grinning Ignis. Muse offers an interesting balance where pump spells of a good rate become rituals for your next spell. The main limitation here is that it can only reduce the generic cost of the spell you wish to cast. Grinning Ignis, on the other hand, does more than act as a ritual. Originally printed in Future Sight, Ignis brings multiple infinite combos to Standard and Historic, where it creates infinite loops with Birgi, Kaikar, Runaway Steamkin, and Hazaret's Monument. We were wondering how Historic Storm decks would look to generate large enough storm counts to win the game. This seems to be a likely suspect. But if these cards are the cards we will use to cast large spells, what are the large spells we're going to cast? The two presented to us are Creative Outburst and Magma Opus, which might be the best pun in the entire set. Both do multiple things when cast, but I personally think that they're overcosted for what they give us. What makes them interesting, though, is that they both have an ability that allows you to discard them in exchange for a treasure token. There's that ramp element, but more importantly, this allows you to put them in the graveyard where they can be cast by Efreet Flame Painter or Mizzix's Mastery. The synergy here is obvious, but it remains to be seen whether this plan is comparable to decks that use cards like Faithless Looting or Thrilling Discovery to put ultimatums in the graveyard for Flame Painter. It's an extra step, but the ultimatums have much stronger effects. The other spells that benefit from Prismari's ramp abilities are the two new X spells, Culmination of Studies and Multiple Choice. Culmination of Studies is a very cool value spell that combos well with Painter's Servant. Multiple Choice is an incredible flavor win, and acts essentially as a modal spell, which are typically powerful because of their flexibility. Our last two cards in these colors for the day are card selection standouts Solve the Equation and Expression Rehearsal. As a to-the-hand tutor, Solve the Equation looks to be a powerful commander card, where it compares favorably to Merchant Scroll. At the highest levels, it may not be an auto-include, because 3 mana value at sorcery speed isn't the greatest rate, but in those competitive decks where mana isn't much of a concern, like Kinnan or High Tide decks, it will likely make the cut. Expression Rehearsal seems more geared towards 60-card formats, and is a brilliant exercise in blending blue card selection with red impulsive draw. What is so cool about this design is that the power of the card scales with the stage of the game, so that it isn't broken when cast early, but isn't dead when cast late. I love this design, and hope it's something we see more of in the future. Moving out of Prismari colors, a late-night release from the previous day of spoilers needs mentioning. Modal Card Flame Scroll Celebrant and Revel in Silence looks to be a fantastic commander card that will likely see play in CEDH. If it were only an extra copy of Silence, that would probably be enough, but the fact that it is stapled to Harsh Mentor is icing on the cake. A card that serves both as combo protection and combo prevention is a good card. Clever Lumamancer isn't the first Magecraft card to augment its power and toughness, but it is the first one that is a 1-drop, and the +2/+2 bonus for each spell and copy is impressive. In Legacy, this fits well with the Storm in the Box card we're all becoming more familiar with, Chain of Smog, and threatens a turn 2 kill. I don't think Legacy will find this to be oppressive, as a single blocker, well-timed bolt, or Swords to Plowshares is extremely punishing. More interesting is the modern format, where this fits well in Boros burn decks that run Monastery Swift Spear, Soulscar Mage, and a bevy of free spells like Mutagenic Growth, Manamorphose, and Lava Dart. Lumamancer will be a powerful inclusion to aggressive decks that like to cast a lot of cards, but I don't think it will be format warping. The standard format, however, will see a lot of Baleful Domain in the years to come. An unconditional instant speed exile effect that hits both planeswalkers and creatures is very good. The fact that you have the option to cast it for only 2 mana is incredible. No, giving your opponents a card will not always be worth it, but having the flexibility to determine when it is better to save the mana and when it is better to pay full price is what counts, and makes this card much better than Vraska's Contempt, which always costs 4, or a version that always cost 2 and gave away a card. Extus, Auric Overlord, makes for Mardu Modal Madness with one of the more powerful Magecraft abilities we've seen so far. Turning every spell into a form of recursion allows for a huge variety of commander decks focused on everything from value to infinite combos. What puts this over the top, in my mind, is that the backside of the card is not just an extra effect you can use when you need it, but instead an infinite mana outlet that wins the game. If you can generate infinite mana, say through a World Gorger Dragon loop, you can cast Awaken the Blood Avatar an infinite number of times to create an infinite number of creatures that don't even have to make it past the attack phase in order to win the game. The last card that I'm going to cover today is, to be frank, absolutely insane. It's Wandering Archaic. Yes, this is a modal card with a backside. No, I do not care. Wandering Archaic is a 5-mana 4/4 that reads, whenever an opponent casts an instant or sorcery spell, they may pay 2. If they don't, you may copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Imagine Rhystic Study, but it's harder for opponents to pay the tax, and instead of putting a card in hand, you get a free effect immediately. What's more, it's colorless, so it can go in any deck. Racing to 5 mana is not difficult to do, and the value this card will generate once it hits the board cannot be understated. This disrupts your opponents, cheats on mana costs, and generates card advantage all at the same time. Commander players, get ready to see this card. A lot. Like, all the time. That wraps up my highlights for day 4. Did I miss a card you think deserved the spotlight? Would you like to express any disagreement with my analysis? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like what I do, subscribe to the channel and get that bell on so you know whenever a new video goes live. Talk soon.